Welcome back. April
18th.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Happy Sunday.
Oh, we did not point out our thing in the last episode.
We didn't, no.
I forgot all about that.
Yep. Jenny got
Pretty
us
excited.
a little background made there. She got all kinds of stuff, actually.
The rest of it's not arrived yet.
No. But she got suckered into a little smart marketing on the website she ordered from.
JOJ-Jesus.
Yeah. Smooth and steady. That's kind of where we're at. I feel like. And the verse we had looked up goes with today is Proverbs 16:3, and it says, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans." And I think that's pretty fitting for us in this point in our life. I think we saw where God had brought us to this point. We've been now on the Elite Series for 15 was our fourth season. 11, 12, 13. 11, 12, 13, 14. So yeah, 15 would have been the start of our fifth season. First four were really good, big success, growing a lot in our career and stuff. So and I feel like that was because of those commitments we had made back in 2008 when you said, "Hey, is this where you ought to be doing?" All those things all those steps that we felt like we were trusting that guidance, and we were now getting to enjoy some of the fruits of that. So that's kind of where we were. But yeah, we talked a little bit in the last one of how Jennie and the kids were all traveling, full time, 12, part of 13. She
had a slight meltdown.
Had a little bit of a meltdown, breakdown, whatever, understandably, in 13. And so they pulled back a little bit, and, didn't go to much more that year, went to a little bit the next year. And in 15, still went to some, but it was definitely getting harder on Abby with school.
Yeah, and I feel like there were a few tournaments we left Abby here with his mom.
Yeah. And you and the twins
and then
still
the twins
came.
and I still went because they weren't in school yet. But it was really hard for Abby to miss the in-person. I think that year she'd missed the first 2 weeks of third grade.
Right out of the gate.
And we just set her up for disaster for the next month. Because it was like they were really started out strong in math stuff, and then, so she was already behind, and that's not her strongest subject. It was just, we promised that we would never do that to her again. Because it was really hard. So I think there were some... if she was on break, she would come with us. Right. But
there were multiple times that she stayed home.
That she had stayed with his mom, and the twins and I at least were still able to travel. Yeah. Yeah. Because we knew they'd be starting school, so.
Right. Yeah. That was when Abby was that age. They went to everything, and so we were past the point of them running opposite directions every time you open the camper door, and they listened a little bit more, or they got disciplined.
Yeah, they knew.
Yeah, so that they were at the point to where it was a little bit easier. And we hated for them to miss out on so much fun we had with Abby at that age. So we wanted them to get to go to these places and enjoy that kind of stuff. And people say something, "Man, we got to drive 3 hours with these kids." I'm like,
3? That's nothing. Like.
What are you talking about, Jack?
We left at 6 and we're there by 9. It's great. Yeah. We're not even stopping for 3 hours.
No, a 3-hour car ride, you don't stop. Ain't nobody stops. You empty your bladder, you fill your tank.
I know. Our kids are ruined. His mom took them on a trip, not last summer, but the summer before. And they were probably, 9 hours. They were in Maryland. And they complained how much Mimi stopped. They were
she'd drive for an hour and a half.
She'd have to get coffee. She'd have to go pee. And then she says, "We need to get a snack." And they're like, "Mimi, just drive.
Just get us there already."
Get us home.
So
sorry to their probably future spouses and stuff, because we don't get in the car and play around.
No. The only reason to be in the car is to get back out of the car as fast as you can get there. So, borderline safely. That's the plan. But was 15? I think that.
Yeah,
I think
you
I started fishing.
The selects.
Yeah. So that was kind of where Major League Fishing came in the picture for us. They had started the Cups back in 2011. We weren't part of that. Wow. But in 2015, I believe, was the first year that it expanded, and they opened up what was called the Selects, the Major League Fishing Selects. And I was in the first group of 24 anglers that they invited to be a part of those selects. Had a pretty big price tag with it then for just two events.
It did, and of course, that was another one of those like moments of, do we do it? Do we not do it? Like, is this ever is it going to really help us? Right. We didn't really know. I mean, we knew it existed, but not.
I watched them some and stuff, and knew it was a neat thing, but that was it. It was a cool TV show. Didn't really know much more about it.
Yeah, and so we finally were like, well, we don't want to sit back and be like, dang, we wish we would have done it. So
we were financially, we were where we could do it. It wasn't the thing. It wasn't any kind of a guaranteed return other than the airtime. But there was, if you won your rounds, you could make money. Yeah. You could make it into the cups through those and make money. And while we were fishing the selects, I think we fished 3.
I think we made the most money out of any.
Yeah.
I mean, had to.
That's the first year I won 2 rounds, so I got the check for both of those. Went to the championship or went to the cups, and both of those, one of them I did terrible. One of them I finished second overall. So won a good chunk of money there. Yeah, it was kind of the same deal each year. I think as a select angler, I made more money than a lot of the cup anglers did that year. So it worked out even just on its own. Besides the return of the of all the airtime
and stuff. Yeah, it really helped. Started getting, of people knowing who Ott was.
Yeah.
Like, we had so many times we'd go and stop at a gas station, and they'd be like, "Oh, I saw you on that show." And of course, with Major League Fishing, that stuff is aired months ahead of time,
right.
Or it's filmed months ahead of time and then aired later. And it was cool to see that people were actually watching from TV,
and I mean, they'd come up to you and quote something you did or said. It wasn't like, "Oh man, it was good to see you did good in that last tournament." They'd be like, "Man, you pulled up to that dock and you skipped a white jig under there and you hopped it twice and a 3-pounder ate it." Like, they would tell you that kind of stuff. It wasn't just. It wasn't just "Oh man, great job last week." That was and we took notice of that.
Yeah.
Because the fans of it were very engaged.
Very engaged. Yep. And so, of course, all that started, and then 2016. So the beginning of that year, I guess, so I should say the end of 15.
Yeah.
We had been going to a little church in Dandridge that the pastor there was my youth pastor, and he's the one that actually married us. And still great friends, love them to death. They're family, they're
John
friends.
And Donna Thompson,
Yep. And so the little church we were attending, that's where my parents went, my aunt, my brother, my whole family. And then it's just small that everybody's there as family. I mean, April was my 6th grade English teacher, and just everybody knows everybody. But it was a small little church, and so Abby, on Sundays, the kids would go, children's time, and of course she always got stuck with the twins, as she would say. And it just, we knew, I love the people. We love the people there dearly.
Yeah.
Still, we still talk, and they're still our family. But we knew that we were being called to be somewhere else. We just didn't know where.
Yeah.
And it was really hard. I think we probably fought that for a couple of years.
We really did. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, because
it was comfortable being there, and it was. I mean, it was
and
good.
We loved the people.
We loved the people. We loved the people so much, but we could see it with Abby getting older, influences at school, and now I mean, she goes. They all 3 go to a Christian school, so they get taught great values there. But
at the end of the day, they're people are people.
People are people, and absolutely, and so we knew we wanted to be somewhere else, and we talked about it, and we prayed about it, and I mean, Lions Creek was the first place we went, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I can't even remember why, if we just went and visited, because Brandon and Amber had went there and said it was really good, and they had huge kids things, and so we were like, well, we'll just go try it out. Well, no. Abby had been there several times with my grandparents.
Yeah,
that's what it was. So my grandparents, the ones we've talked about in previous episodes, so they taught Sunday school at Lions Creek because they lived down the road.
That's right.
So Abby would sometimes spend the night with them, and she would go with them to be there. And she loved it. And she talked about going to Sunday school and the kids, and she knew some of the kids there from school. And so whenever we had talked about it, Abby was very much like,
let's go to Lions Creek.
Go there. And our good friends went there. So that's where we got it all.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll try it, I mean, and just went and kind of fell in love with it. Still struggled with the fact of going to a different church and, walking. If I haven't said it before, I don't like change. And so, like, leaving what was comfortable and, all of our people and our safe, for me, it's my safety zone because I know all these people. Yeah. I knew, like, 3 people at Lions Creek. I mean, so, and I have to be there a lot by myself. Right. But we went.
And I don't get to be there much at all.
No. So we went, we had small group, our Sunday school, and the kids were all in their Sunday schools, and I think Matt was only there a few weeks, and he was getting ready to leave, the pastor that was there. Yeah. And so Bob and his wife Lenny Brown, he was going to be the interim pastor, and I want to say it was just a couple Sundays that he preached, and we weren't there long. Like the kids are loving it; they love Sundays. And I think the second week or something, we had come home and, like, the twins were just like, I think it was Parker because he's our shy one. I think he was like, Mom, like we were coming, like, got home and he's like, I love it, or I love going to church or something. And it was just like, okay. Like, they're just, okay. Like, we're doing the right thing. Like, I may be struggling, but it's because I hate change. Right. So,
but it was that reaffirmation, confirmation coming through the kids telling us that, hey, we enjoy it here.
Yeah. And then it was like maybe a month to 6 weeks that we were attending, and Abby's was old enough to be in the grown up service, and so, but it was at the end of the service, and they did the invitation, and Abby's just like over here like smiling, like like she cannot contain herself, and we're like, what's wrong with you? Quit wiggling, and she's like, I just asked Jesus into my heart, and I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah, and so I'm like, tell your dad. So she's telling all that, and I was like, okay, we didn't have her go up front then. Yeah. Just being younger, and it just happened so quick. I was just like, okay, let's, after church we'll talk about it. And so we did, and she's 100% certain she, went through all the steps, and we went and spoke with the youth pastor, and then I think it was the next Sunday, or may have been a couple Sundays.
I think it was a few.
Because you may not have been there or something.
It was on Easter.
That's when she was
baptized,
but she'd come forward.
Yeah. It was at the Easter service that year that they had.
I had a baptism on Easter Sunday.
They had a handful of people to get baptized, and they did that. That's the way it started service Easter Sunday. And we hadn't been going there that long. No, and that was. I mean, it was just 6 amazing
weeks
experience.
At the most, and so I'm like, okay, I get it.
and that again, that was hearing God call us. Taking that step, and I mean, we didn't even have to wait long for
an uncomfortable step,
but didn't have to wait long to see the payoff in it, and that was what was amazing, and so that was, as a parent, that's as much as you can ask for in your kid. I mean, it is that's my proudest moments are my children telling me, that they prayed to receive Christ.
And it's funny, I can't even remember what he preached on that day. Like with Parker and Lizzie, we know, like, I can remember because Parker's was so dead set with Mark's of where,
you gotta know when you go, where you go when you go.
Yeah, like, and then of course with Lizzie, hers was, tied to Mandy. And so it's like, but I don't even remember what Bob preached about.
I don't either,
that Sunday.
Yeah.
What, but it doesn't matter. But so that was 16 started out with that way, and I think fishing was pretty. I mean, okay, like nothing.
Yeah, nothing huge until
August.
Yeah, September.
Was it September?
Oh, yeah, because it was right out before or after my birthday. It's right around my birthday.
I don't know.
We can look back here and see. But yeah, I had fished. I'm gonna say tour level, top level wise since 2006, really.
Oh yeah. If you're all that.
And so now we're in 16. So that's 11 seasons or so. And I had an open win. I had an Ever Start win back in the day. I did have the All-Star win, which was a kind of a tour level, but not a full field event.
It only had like 16 guys
12
or 12 guys
total, but
so it wasn't a full field.
Yeah.
We didn't really consider it. I mean, it was a win, but it wasn't, it's like I want to beat all of them.
Yeah.
I want to beat all 100 of them that are out there fishing.
And I look at I call it the year class that I started with, 2011, Brandon Polinick, and I mean a bunch of guys who have won Anglers of the Year, and and multiple tour level wins already at this point. I'm like, man, when's it going to happen? I had several top 12s. I might have had one year where I only had one top 12 in there, but I had it. I think most every year had at least two.
Yeah. It was very consistent.
Yeah, extremely consistent.
Which is not a bad thing.
Not at all. Not at all. But then I'd look at a guy like Bill Owen, who just won his first one.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
And even then I'd look at him like, well, I mean, look at how, his career and stuff. He's, had a great career, but still not had that win. But, in Wisconsin, Mississippi River, in September, was able to get my Elite Series win, only Elite Series
the first
win.
one. And so I'm like, well, I'll fly in. Like, I'll book a ticket and I'll fly in. And I cannot for the life of me remember why I had to be back. But, I mean, it was like 24 hours because I know I flew in. I think JD picked me up. Yeah. And then
we drove to Minneapolis.
I went to your hotel because Andy was doing his laundry. And I was like, I'm going to pack all that stuff up. That way, we weigh in, we have to leave, we have to drive to Minneapolis to spend the night. And then I was flying out at like 6 that morning.
The next morning, I had another turn. We had our Angler of the Year championship up at Mille Lacs.
Yeah, you were
the next week
going on. And I mean, there was some reason that I booked that early flight because I had to be back for something. I don't know what it was at the time. And so I'm like, well, I can do, it's 24 hours. This is fine. So I go to the airport, get on a plane. I about said score tracker. Bass track.
Which is it's Sunday, championship day. So, I mean, she's flying up
I'm flying up that day, that Sunday morning, get on a flight. And, of course, I pay for the Wi-Fi on the plane so I can hopefully keep track. Still no fish. No fish. And I'm like...
It's like 2 hours into the day and I ain't caught one yet.
I'm trying to panic. Like, we got all day. I get there and still, hadn't caught much. And, JD picks me up. We go to the hotel and get there. And Andy, of course, he's got it on. And, I'm packing all that stuff. And I'm trying to not just be totally bummed and freaked out, because I'm like, oh, she's going to be so upset. I know how bad we want to win. Yeah. And so... and Andy's trying to keep me calm. He's like, oh, he's got all day, but I can tell he's worried. And so we go, and you end up catching fish, but so did other people. Like it wasn't.
Oh, it wasn't clear by no means.
It was like not
enough separation.
This is a cakewalk. And I can remember getting there to the weigh-in, and I was talking to Kim Horton and. I can't remember. I know Kim was there, and there was a couple other wives, and I was like, y'all. I was like, I just had this overwhelmed feeling. In my mind, I am confident. I'm coming up here to
console me in my loss.
No, when I know, I'm. The reason I'm flying in is because you're going to win and we're going to celebrate. But then it dawned on me. Well, crap, what if I'm here to console him? I really had that thought. I thought, man, what if I'm here and God's like, no, you're here because he's not going to win today. And
he needs you here.
I said, what?
It's kind of a bummer.
Well, I don't want to do that. I could have called him on the phone. And so, we kind of laughed about it because they understand. They've all been there and done that. And so, of course we go to the weigh-in and he ends up winning, and we FaceTime. I had the kids on FaceTime, so they
got to be there.
They wanted to be there, but it was just with the timeline and getting back and forth. I was like, I'm not doing that with 3 more of you. But so it was all good. But
it turned out I won't say it's like a pound and a half difference or something.
Yeah,
it was all it ended up being. So it wasn't ounces, but it definitely wasn't a lot. Mm-hmm. That's for sure. That was a stressful day on the water. That was one of those days where it's just like, man, couldn't make anything happen. And it's funny to look at a couple. I mean, this last win was that way. I had a great first period, but the second and most of the third, it's like, you just couldn't do anything right. And it's funny how even, on some of those days you end up working it out and still getting the win, but it ain't your prettiest day of fishing you've ever had. But it's just the way sometimes they're able to get it done. But all right, we'll close again with the verse, and that was Proverbs 16:3, and it says, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans." Now I will say, going into this next our next episode, some of this stuff was probably going on, but we felt like we kind of...
It was probably going... I mean, it was going on before this. This is just some of the... We entitled it Bumps in the Road.
Yeah.
But just kind of over those years, I'll say, from 12 to 16, somewhere in there. Somewhere in there, yeah. Because
along with that success came more demands from sponsors, came more times apart. But some of this stuff was kind of going on in that. We kind of, in these last couple episodes, wanted to hit on some of the highlight stuff, but the next one is some bumps in the road, some stuff behind the scenes.
Kind of where the really growing, I think, would be happening, yeah.
Absolutely. So, be sure to come back and check that one out next week.